Hello, Contrarians listeners, watchers, subscribers. Here we are closing 2024, transitioning to 2025 with, as Alex just called it before we started recording, a holiday romp called Dragged Across Concrete from the twisted mind of the guy that brought you Bone Tomahawk and another movie that we haven't watched.
I have, and it'll be coming soon to Contrarians After Hours. And I still can't fucking remember the title of it in full. Brawl in Cell Block 99.
Yes. Okay. So Alex has seen it now, inspired by our watching of Dragged Across Concrete, and I did say that I was going to try to. So I guess now I have to.
Yeah.
Here we go. I'm making the commitment officially. This is his third movie. S. Craig Zahler.
Yep.
We never figured out how to pronounce his last name. I don't think he cares. I think he has other things in his mind. As evidence
Clearly.
by the two movies of his I've watched, and now three that Alex has seen. One of those things is Vince Vaughnn, who's starring in two of his movies. And I'm pretty sure this dude, whether the experience was terrible or magnificent, still thinks about the fact that his third movie stars Mel Gibson, like post-cancellation Mel Gibson. That has to be something that you just,
And as discussed in the episode, there is what appears to be a concentrated effort on making sure that, that Mel Gibson is in this movie.
Yes.
Mel Gibson, yeah.
Would you say this is an attempt at a babyface turn for Mel Gibson?
We talk about it in the movie, and yeah, there are no good guys in this movie, but there's a very strange current of we should forgive this guy, his character, Mel Gibson's character, but then that also you have to start thinking about, like, okay, what is this trying to say here?
The meta aspect. Yeah. There's a lot to talk about Drag Across Concrete. It's fresh on Tomato Meter, the least fresh out of his three movies, but still fresh, certified fresh. So we're gonna go to town on it, and then we'll tell you how we really feel. But here on this warm-up, as usual, we're going to give you some extra quotes, some trivia. We're going to go over the trailer, and of course the Josh Gad Minute. So let's get started, Alex. Let's do the quotes. And I have the critic consensus here. 76% says, as grim and grinding as its title, Dragged Across Concrete opts for slow-burning drama instead of high-speed thrills, and has just the right cast to make it work. Just the right cast. You couldn't have had anybody else playing these two cops, apparently.
No. The high-speed thrills that does, I'm just now realizing there's not, like, for all of, like, the driving that is done in this movie, there's not, like, one big action chase scene. Like, there's no Fast and the Furious type action.
No, there's a chase scene that moves like molasses.
Yes.
It's like nobody, I guess there's no real awareness of the fact that they're in a chase scene.
If you're a fan of intense gore and brutality and practical effects, God bless, they're here in abundance, but you have to be patient because yes, there is a slow burn in between every sequence of intense violence.
If you're a fan of stakeouts, now
yes,
this movie is for you.
A fan of watching Vince Vaughnn eat.
Yes, those egg salad sandwiches. That sounds like a very bad choice if you're going to be stuck in a car.
It does, and it also reminded me of, in my college days, how much the affinity I had for 7-Eleven egg salad sandwiches, which it's nothing less than a modern miracle that I'm still alive to talk to you today, Julio. When in college I was shoveling egg salad from 7-Eleven down my fucking gullet.
Man, you were Mel Gibson in this movie, just bold in the face of a system that was gamed against you. Like, I don't care.
2 root beers.
Yes. All right, first quote comes from Ross McIndoe from The Skinny, who says, Dragged Across Concrete is an excellent action flick with leads who, when they aren't bitching about cell phones or correcting black people's grammar, are an absolute blast to be around. I think they do worse things than correcting people's grammar and bitch about cell phones.
That in the movie becomes like, not like, it's almost like a bit that wasn't completely realized when people, it's Tory Kittle's Henry that they're correcting throughout the movie, his speech, and his retort to it every time is, you understand what I said, something like that. He said, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, like you felt like there was going to be some payoff to that bit at some point in the movie, but there wasn't.
Right. He tells Mel Gibson, you understood what I said, right? And Gibson goes, no. Like, grammar matters. I think
the Oxford comma was not used properly by the Henry character.
Yes. So you do want to eat your family. Ross McIndoe, I think he's just downplaying the nastiness of these two cups to justify that he thinks they're a blast to be around.
Julio, your cat's going to pull that TV down.
Oh, she's just excited to see me there.
Oh, okay. It was tilting there for a second. That's fucking adorable.
All right. Second quote is Jeffrey Zhang from Strange Harbors, who says, "Dragged Across Concrete is an unapologetic noir that's at times
I'm
hard
bored.
that's at times hard to swallow, a construct of the times that seems lab-grown to provoke and outrage." I didn't think of it as a noir, I guess. Some people can make the argument that, these hard-boiled, like, tough detectives. But my first thought whenever somebody says, oh, it's a noir, I'm like, one, where's the voiceover? Two, where's the femme fatale?
Yeah.
Is Jennifer Carpenter the femme fatale in this movie?
What was that, a fresh or rotten quote?
That was fresh.
Because the way that ends is kind of like similar to some of the things we said in a negative way of like, it says it's made in a factory to provoke an outrage. And yeah, one of the things this movie does repeatedly is play these like very tried and true cards of emotional manipulation of its audience. So
I guess this guy likes it.
Yeah, some people do.
Yeah,
like
my safe word is Zahler.
That's why romantic comedies, through the span of time have been successful. You just play the right cards, certain audiences will like them. I can't say that this movie is exactly like in the vein of When Harry Met Sally, but it definitely knows what cards it wants to play when. Is
it in the vein of the Maltese Falcon or what's the one that we actually did on the show, The Long Goodbye?
No.
Elliot Gould, just racist Elliot Gould.
I did not hate this movie, but like anyone who would compare it to The Long Goodbye, I'd say just see ya.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Well, those were the quotes, Alex. Let's dive into the trailer in the segment we call Trailer Chatter.
Brother, this trailer, I watched this before we even watched the movie. This took me back to a time of video rental because this so very much, because it's only like, what, 90 seconds the trailer is?
And it's a longer than that, right? They play, what, did you watch the same thing? Is it the one that plays Safari?
Shotgun Safari.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. It's not a full length trailer. Maybe
it goes pretty fast. It opens with your favorite scene in the movie, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I have it pulled up right here. Yeah, it's 1:42.
Okay.
But what I was trying to say is this was very much reminiscent of the trailers that would play on a VHS tape before you got to the now your feature presentation. Like, movies like Pulp Fiction and horror movies, Halloween 6, for example, like there'd be just like boom, 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 like 5 of these back to back of these movies you'd never fucking heard of before in your life. And that's
available.
What it felt like. Yeah, exactly. Coming soon to theaters. So that's what it felt like. But yeah, I remember watching this before the movie and then watching the movie, and you learn nothing about what the movie is going to be about through the trailer, but it does. I could see watching this trailer and thinking maybe you're getting into a noir.
Yeah. Getting excited definitely to watch it, right? It seems it's going to be a fun time with Mel Gibson and Vince Vaughnn.
Yeah, it looks... we talk about the director, and we're apparently going to more here on our Patreon in a little while, but I think he's obviously an interesting cat and also thrives in the concept of misdirection, and because we talk about even the closing credits of this movie are not in line with anything that happened the previous 2.5 hours. And so it makes sense that the trailer, one, doesn't really set you up for success in the terms of knowing what to expect or, how it's going to be played out, but also is kind of like whimsical and fun.
The end credits of the movie, they stop right before they get to bloopers. That's like he was just this close to going there. What's the biggest misdirection in the trailer?
Jennifer Carpenter with like the prosthetic hands. Like, what am I supposed to do?
They're just laughing.
Yeah, like fucking Ben Stiller in Tropic Thunder. Just like.
But what's the biggest misdirection? How much Jennifer Carpenter is in the trailer, or the fact that Don Johnson gets the and Don Johnson?
Well, he gets and Don Johnson in the movie.
Right, but he gets one scene. Would that make you think that he's in at least like a couple more?
having watched that Cell Block 99 or Cell 99 movie, I believe he gets the end credit in that as well, but he is like a character in that movie. So yeah, I can understand if you had seen that prior to this, his role in that's pretty baller. So I could see getting excited by it. So that being said, his character serves a purpose, and Jennifer Carpenter does not.
She's also in Brawl in Cell Block 99, right?
Yeah, she has an actual role in that. And also in my research for this, I may have known this and forgot it, but she was supposed to be Mrs. O'Dwyer in Bone Tomahawk. She was supposed to be the woman that got kidnapped by the troglodytes.
Okay, so she's got an in with
yes.
S. Craig Zahler. He likes her work.
She's the Schwartzman to her Henderson.
The Leo to her Scorsese.
There you go.
Well, I think that if you watch, you having said that, if you watch Brawl in Cell Block 99 and then you see this trailer, it has to be a letdown that Don Johnson and Jennifer Carpenter are barely in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So shame on you.
I had to siphon off their resources from Mel Gibson.
Yeah. The next trailer for whatever his next movie is going to be is going to feature Vince Vaughnn prominently, and then he's barely going to be in the movie.
Did you have any more thoughts on the trailer? I was going to transition.
I just want to shout out one more time Shotgun Safari.
The OJs, the group that performs that song. That, if nothing else, the takeaway from this film for myself and Julio is that Shotgun Safari is a fucking banger.
It's a great way to close your movie. That's what
it is. It distracted me from all the problems I had with the previous 2 hours and 40 minutes.
All right. Well, listen to Shotgun Safari, even if you don't watch Dragged Across Concrete. But now let's transition, as you were going to transition, Alex.
Just putting a bow on the Jennifer Carpenter part of this, I found a blog entry reviewing this movie that I sent to Julio from it's dated September 22nd of 2023. Upsetting Day, that bank teller from Dragged Across Concrete. This is by SeanBaby. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. We go in deep into the paint and the Jennifer Carpenter sequence in the actual episode. But I just had a little excerpt here I wanted to read that I thought was pretty good. This is about halfway through the article. It's fucking sloppy and insane. She tries everything to get to that baby. It's not just too much. It's outrageously too much. It raises the question, is this a powerful, dramatic moment, or did a prankster give Jennifer Carpenter money in exchange for snot? This is a filmmaker trying to communicate. She's a loving mother with absolutely no restraint. It's how an unlicensed monkey scientist would do it. I'm not saying it's artless. I'm saying it's very artistic. It's a very artistic weapon pointed in the same direction, and we are watching them blast a hole in a smoking crater that was once an idea. At these dramatic heights, you're one wrong step away from falling into comedy. This is the first time I've seen a hysterical new mother beg her husband to let her skip work to play with her baby, and it's already a parody of the genre.
Somehow, I missed that SeanBaby wrote that. I don't know if you're ever familiar with SeanBaby. I assume we were talking about the same SeanBaby. This dude was hilarious. Man, maybe 20 years ago when I first discovered him, the early days of the internet. He had a page that was all about, it was commentary about the old Super Friends cartoon, and he would just you would click and he would talk about the characters and all stuff. That's how I found him. And then he was doing articles for other websites, and he was always, as proven by this excerpt that Alex just read. I mean, he has a way with words and he can be really funny. And then he just kind of, I'm not gonna say that he fell out of style, because maybe he didn't. I just stopped. I think that we stopped as a community, as a society. We stopped reading blogs as much as we used to, because fucking Twitter and YouTube and whatever, right? But back in the day when blogs reigned supreme, this dude was at least at the top of my reading list. So I'm glad to hear that, at least as far as 2019, I guess, when
this is the entries from last year, from 2023.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Good to know that SeanBaby still got it. You sent me that link, and it took me a while to check it because I thought it was a video. And when somebody sends me a video, I have to be in a good place. I was so happy to see it was text.
I was laughing really hard reading it. It's a pretty extended piece, but if any of that makes no sense to you, you haven't seen this movie, we explain it more in the episode. And if you've actually seen the movie, I recommend seeking out that blog, because it is really funny and on the nose about the sequence of the film. Yeah, you're right.
It's concentrated to that scene too. So
yeah, it's just about that.
So you can just watch the Jennifer Carpenter sequence and then read this, and then you're all set.
Yeah. I never thought about the way you said about moving on from blog posts. I used to blog, and there was a different community, and some people just like this were on fire at it. There was a website when I was in college called Cage Potato, which was an MMA site that like was for the most niche audience possible. It was like a comedic way of covering MMA, and I mean, every morning before I went to class, or in between classes, I would check that. There was Ben Goldstein and Ben Folks were writers on there, and it was a different time.
There was an art to it.
There most certainly was. And also Dana White hated that website, which made it all the more like, rah Cage Potato.
They were not facts. Those blogs were not facts.
They were not facts, no sir.
All right, let's move on to the Josh Gad Minute, where we insert poor innocent Josh Gad into the nasty, gritty world of Dragged Across Concrete. Alex, do you have any thoughts?
I do. I don't want to take Fred Melamed out of this because what he's doing is just too weird. We need to keep that in the movie. So I have two approaches here. One, Josh Gad can be the drug dealer that is apprehended at the beginning of the movie. Now, this kills some of the story because Mel Gibson uses police brutality on this guy, and he's Hispanic, so it plays out as like a racist cop, which I don't think Mel Gibson argues with that label. But you could have him be the drug dealer in the beginning and get kind of roughed up, because then it adds the... Was that Josh Gad?
Was that Josh Gad playing a Mexican dude?
What is this? 2004? But I think the way to go here, and I got love for my boy, but I think it would be awesome if Mel Gibson, once he's suspended and needs work, some action, he goes and asks for Freddie, and it's Josh Gad in this like mahogany office drinking scotch and telling him like what's hot on the streets and what's going down where. Udo Kier can find work elsewhere, trust me.
But that's proven by his career.
Yes. I think the reveal of Gad here, clean shaven with his hair slicked back and just like sitting there, just with such discontent for Mel Gibson, could really pay off money.
I like it. And it would be much like with Udo Kier. You'd be like, wait, what? Is he coming back? Oh, that's it? Damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Where's Friedrich?
Alternatively, also a small part, but one that would be a different tone for him to play. If he played Jennifer Carpenter's husband.
Yeah.
You just see him through the door like half open, and he's holding the baby, and it's dramatic Gad. Like, baby, you can't have the baby right now.
Or Josh Gad is the baby.
Just CGI, Twilight style. That would lighten things up. You really wouldn't know.
Right before the movie gets its darkest. You get a good laugh out of it.
All right. Well, we've given you options, Mr. Gad. It's up to you. I mean, that Dragged Across Concrete remake, I'm sure it's just around the corner. The woke mob has started its petition on change.org so that they can just redo the movie in a cleaner, nicer version. So just put Josh Gad there, give him a pick, whatever role he wants to play. But anyway, let's dive into trivia. Alex, I'm eager to learn what you found out about this movie that we haven't discussed in the show already.
In 2017, after finishing Brawl in Cell Block 99, that's when Zahler signed on to direct this. The script was 162 pages.
Half of them were anchovies. It's just like full pages of anchovies.
And one of the things I read about this was, obviously, I don't particularly agree with the runtime of this movie, but I do agree with this approach to making movies. As if you're Craig Zahler, is that he had in his contract a final cut clause, which, as history has shown, if you view yourself as like an auteur, that's probably something important that you have in your contract. So, but that also fucked with the release and subsequently the box office return, because Lionsgate was the distributor, and they said, you want a wide release, you need to chop it down to 2 hours. And he said no. So then they gave it a very limited release, which could account for its disappointing box office return. It was a budget of $15 million, box office of less than 700,000. It was released on digital demand the same day also, which wasn't, if I understood correctly, wasn't part of the original deal, but he stood so strong on this needing to be, nearly 3 hours. I've bounced around with it. I've said 2.5, 240. It's like 248 or something like that, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty close to 3 hours by the time of the Jungle Safari,
Shotgun
that, Safari.
There you go. Got that Dark Knight Rises runtime. So I admire that, and at least now we can say we've seen what he intended us to see. So like, I don't have to watch this movie again and be like curious of like, oh, what's the difference between the director's cut and what we actually got?
Yeah, Brian De Palma could learn some lessons from Mrs. Zahler. Give us that Black Dahlia director's cut.
Oh shit, that black and white 3 hour cut. I'm still waiting, brother. It's like on his deathbed. He just like has the cans and just like Vince Vaughnn approached Mel Gibson about working on this movie when they were making Hacksaw Ridge together.
How did I not make that connection? Well, it's because Gibson is not on screen, and Vaughnn is not one of the main characters, so that makes sense.
And if I understood that correctly, Mel Gibson was supposed to play the role that Vince Vaughnn has in Hacksaw Ridge, but then just due to like, it's a pretty intricate film, so he was like, yeah, fuck it, I need someone else to play this role. So that's an interesting conversation, just thinking about them reading over.
Vince Vaughnn telling us, Craig Zahler, trust me.
For as violent as this was the first Zahler film to receive a rating from the MPAA. The others were released unrated.
Unrated?
Yeah.
Well, nobody gets torn in half in this movie.
They do not get bisected, no. And brother, buckle up for some violence in that Cell 99 movie, man. Michael J. White expressed in an interview he was pleasantly surprised when Mel Gibson approached him warmly, it says here, explaining that he was a huge fan of Jai White and his action films, specifically Blood and Bone.
Like, that's good, except that if anybody's surprised that you approach a black person warmly, then there's a problem to begin with.
I mean, I wasn't going to say it, but you're not wrong. It's a situation of like, I always think of the wrestling locker rooms, like, when the old veterans there, at some point you have to go up and shake their hand and introduce yourself. But a lot of times people are like intimidated. So I'm just imagining crusty old Mel Gibson just like chain smoking on set, and everyone's like, when are we supposed to talk to him? What are we supposed to do here? And then he comes up to you. He's like, hey, brother, we're working together tonight, I see.
Love The Dark Knight.
Yes. A fascinating movie, and one that's, I couldn't really find much in the way of like strife with the contract, or excuse me, the screenplay, because it seems like the contract that Zahler got was pretty much just like free reign. And the obvious downside that we talked about that is, if you aren't beholden to your producers, sometimes that means your movie goes nowhere. And I think this movie by and large has picked up, much like Bone Tomahawk, more notoriety through like streaming services and whatnot. Just to put this out there, and it's talked about in the episode at least 9 times, it is not as good as Bone Tomahawk. It doesn't exist in the same galaxy as it, but it's from the guy who did Bone Tomahawk.
Yeah, I mean, this dude, it's only 3 movies in, and there are other directors that are 3 movies in, and I am not wowed. Ari Aster, So, yeah, I'll watch whatever he puts out next. And
he's somewhere between Ari Aster and Eggers. What's Eggers' first name? Robert
Eggers. Yeah,
somewhere in between that.
No. I think I like Bone Tomahawk more than I like any movies by Eggers or Aster.
Oh yeah, absolutely. What I meant was like, all right, Ari Aster, probably not watching anything he makes again.
Yes.
Robert Eggers, he's made some things that are okay, but other things that aren't.
Yeah.
And then this guy is, I guess he's like the top of the summit because Bone Tomahawk is better than anything that we're discussing here, but he's also made this movie, which is, it's kind of got him on a teeter-totter. I'll be very interested to see what you think of Cell 99.
All right, well, stay tuned. That's, as Alex said, that's gonna be a patron thing. So that just happened. A patron plug just happened here live, unplanned. But that's it for not just for Dragged Across Concrete, the warm up, but also 2024, the year. Coming up next, our first movie of 2025. Upholding the spontaneous tradition of starting the last 2 years with the Denzel Washington movie. Well, we're going to do the same with 2025, and we're going to tackle Man on Fire. Denzel Washington protecting Dakota Fanning. I was getting Fanning and Johnson mixed up. Dakota Fanning, the little girl. Well, she's not little anymore, but back when they made this movie, she was a child, and Denzel Washington was, if I remember correctly, the man hired to protect her.
It's an action movie, right?
It's yeah, I think so.
If I remember correctly, it's one of those movies that came out in the early 2000s that felt like a holdover script from the mid 90s.
I mean, maybe you can say that about every Tony Scott movie, really.
Touche.
But yeah, he's no, we haven't done any Tony Scott movies before, right? So I guess Tony Scott debuting on The Contrarians in 2025, unless I'm misremembering, because we
talk about The Fan a lot.
Yes, we're big fans of The Fan. Will we be big fans of Man on Fire? Stay tuned. I know our editor, Corey Ari, is, I think he's the one that showed me Man on Fire all those years ago, so I think he's a fan. Anyway, stay tuned. Watch Man on Fire. Watch Dragged Across Concrete. Read SeanBaby's blog about the Jennifer Carpenter sequence. And stay tuned. We'll talk to you again soon.